Hi everyone, this is Carolina Millan and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Hustle. I am here today at the K-Swiss headquarters in Los Angeles, California with Omar Prestwich. He's the head of social media at K-Swiss. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing phenomenal, awesome, amazing.
We're also filming the episode so you guys will be able to watch and listen. So Omar, let's start with your story, with your background. How did you end up working here? What were you doing before? What led you to this path?
That's an awesome story. I love talking about myself, so thank you. Honestly, I love sharing my story because I feel like a lot of people want to accomplish crazy dreams. They want to either start their own podcast, start an apparel brand, work for a sneaker company, whatever it is. People have these crazy dreams, and when you start out, you don't know how to get there. And I'm proof that if you just focus and give it the real focus that it needs, that you can accomplish those dreams. So my background and my story starts from college days. I grew up in Utah, Salt Lake City. You ever been?
Yes, not to Salt Lake, but I've been to Utah.
What part?
I think the farthest we got was the border between Utah and Arizona, Monument Valley.
Yes,
we got all the
beautiful.
way to the Utah part.
That's like probably one of the most beautiful places, so your perfect spot.
I love it.
I'm way north, where there's actually people. And so where I grew up in Salt Lake City, the community is amazing. A lot of wonderful people that kind of work together. Where I grew up, though, there wasn't really a hustle mentality. It was more of like you go to school and you work and then you get married and life is amazing.
There you go.
I for some reason was always attracted to music and hip hop and that kind of street culture, so I never fit in a farm community where I would bale hay or irrigate and there's no street signs. Like, I was the weird kid that for some reason just loved music. And so in my college days, I started a record label. It's called Damn Son. You have to say it like that, otherwise it sounds like
Damn Son.
Damn Son. So I started a record label because I realized that in my college years that college wasn't for me. Every time I tried to go, I had anxiety. I never paid attention in class. I was doing it to please my family. I was trying to please other people, like my girlfriend's family, so they could be like, yeah, he's in college. And then my parents, same thing. Oh, he's in college, he's doing something, staying right out of trouble.
Right.
And in the middle of when I wasn't in college, I would do summer sales. And so for anyone watching this in the U.S., if you ever get a door-to-door guy that sells alarm systems, which I'm sure we've all had, that's what I was doing, and I did that for 7 years.
Wow.
It was the worst job ever and the best because it paid well, and it taught me the value of relentlessness, to go out 100% commission when you don't want to work and to get someone to tell you no, and then finally you get a yes and you get a sale and the joy that comes from that. And so what I realized is I'm really good at creating business or creating something out of nothing, because that's essentially what door-to-door is. I was sick of doing door-to-door sales, and at the same time when I was deciding, like, I don't want to do college anymore, what do I love? Well, I love music and I love art, and I started DJing at clubs in Salt Lake City, and I realized the only way to level up is to not be a DJ per se, and I'm not going to learn how to produce, but I was like, okay, why don't I just create a record label, something that I can be in charge of. I'm great at finding artists that I was right, like, oh, this guy's going to be big, boom, he somehow blew up. And so I thought to myself, if I'm good at that, why don't I start a label and start these guys from scratch and grow with them and help them? And so that's when I started the record label as a way to get out of doing door-to-door sales and also really try to focus on school, again, the whole pleasing the family thing. Fast forward a little bit, we had an amazing roster, X and G. I have to plug them every time because they're two of my best friends now, and they actually are on Skrillex's record label. So if you ever heard of Skrillex. But the whole reason I love telling this part of my history and the story is because during the time of building a record label and dropping out of school and being in a relationship and trying to work and pay bills and everything, it's so much that it becomes overwhelming. And what happens when you're overwhelmed is you're kind of left in a choice. You know, do you keep going forward?
Yeah.
Do you stop Do you please someone? What do you do? And I came to a point where things just kind of collapsed for me. My girlfriend dumped me. She was like, I can't be with you because you're not going to school and you're trying to create this label that I don't think is going to go anywhere. And then my parents were like, why did you drop out of school? This record label? Are you for real? Like, get a real job. Don't do sales, but get a real job. And I just knew that there was something special in doing what you love. And I had little micro successes all this time. And so there was a point in my life where I would see success. And right before it all kind of collapsed, K-Swiss launched this campaign called The Board, which is, you can Google it, and I don't know when this is going to come out, but for anyone listening, we're going to do a board point 2 this year. So,
very cool.
So anyone listening, this is an amazing opportunity because you could literally be where I am. K-Swiss opened up a whole thing for entrepreneurs where they wanted to collaborate with 100 of the most creative people around the world. So naturally, when you open up a competition like that, and the head of it was Diplo, I want in.
Of course.
And so I made a video, I submitted it, went through this whole thing, and eventually I got an email that said, hey, we want you to be part of the board with K-Swiss. And so for 6 weeks, like I was telling you, it was kind of an internship program where a group of us, and this is all around the world, so it was more like email and videos and stuff like that, we would help come up with taglines or our sneaker design or a give back program, or I can't remember a couple of the other things, what it was, but that to me was the first time where a big company saw something in me. There was no money involved. It was just like, hey, you have this opportunity to work with other people. And so I took advantage of that and just ran with it. I did the best that I could. At this point, I had dropped out of college. I was trying to do my record label. I was kind of using both as like, hey, the record label will help me get this, X, Y, Z.
Right.
And I remember my boss at the time, it came to the point where he was like, hey, you're focusing way too much on K-Swiss and not on your day-to-day job that you have to choose. And I said, okay, I'm going to focus on K-Swiss. He wasn't expecting that. And the reason why he wasn't expecting that is because, I guess I should tell you, I started working when I left the sales job at a screen printing shop after school, because as my record label grew, I was like, I want to create apparel for my musicians to wear because streetwear and music kind of go hand in hand.
Yep.
And if I'm going to do it all, then I should learn how to do it and save money. Like, that's just how my mind worked. So I would design, print, create, go to school, and then, do, as you say, the hustle.
Yes.
So I quit, and I was his head designer at the time. And I'm just going all in on K-Swiss. Nothing's going to happen because I'm not getting paid, but I'm going to go all in anyway. I can get another job somewhere else folding T-shirts. The project ended, and it was amazing. Nothing really happened as far as like a job offer or anything like that. It was just kind of like, hey, you can put this on your resume that you were part of this program, the board. Fast forward a little bit more, my boss actually hired me back because he's like, shit, I need someone that's good at design, that hustles, that can run my social media, that can also print shirts if I need to, and if I'm not here, that can help me. So I'm doing...
You were the guy.
I created 4 different social media accounts because we started just doing social media for other people, and I would design and do photos and create on top of all my other things. And because of the breakup that I had, which was the best thing ever, it was a time where it was kind of like fight or flight. What do you do in that situation? There's no negative feelings. Actually, I love my ex, and she's amazing, and I'm so thankful that there was someone in my life that was able to help me get to where I needed to be, because there was something that I didn't have or didn't see in myself at the time, and it took a very difficult choice to move forward in the right direction, to find that extra confidence that I needed. And I think that's when it really all clicked for me. And what I mean by clicked is when something difficult comes your way, you're left with a choice. Is it a negative choice? Is it a positive choice? And I chose the positive choice. I thought, what would Tony Robbins do? What would, Gary Vee? Because the truth is, life is amazing. People are amazing. Everyone teaches you something, and you should always look at the positive with people. And so I remember it was like the most clear choice of my life, which was I'm just going to focus on being the best version of myself, and I'm going to focus on my dreams and just make it happen this way, because that's, there's no other option. And I started running with that. And once that light clicked, I really don't know how to explain, but it was like a domino effect.
Yeah.
It was a matter of me sleeping on the floor at my friend's house because I was like, hey, I have nowhere else to go. I'm really embarrassed to tell my family what's going on. Can I please just crash on your, couch? And he was like, well, I'm moving. My house is going to be reconstructed, and there's one bedroom downstairs that no one's going to touch. Like, you're welcome to sleep there. And I have photos because imagine a house, all construction, dust everywhere, but one bedroom, and that's where I lived.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm telling you the whole story. Stop me anytime.
No, I think it's going to inspire like a lot of people to follow their dream like relentlessly, like you have, and I think it takes a lot of courage to share. You're right. Courage is the best word. I don't think I'm courageous. I just know that within every single person there is amazingness. And whatever amazing is to you, then chase that. I know for me, all I thought about was I want to have a record label / apparel lifestyle brand like the Hundreds or Obey. Like that was my North Star. Yes.
Whatever it takes to make it happen, I'll do it. And I don't need to be a millionaire, a billionaire. I just need to pay my bills and have fun and create and grow. That was literally the only mindset that I had. And so the domino effect, what happened was I started really focusing on only positive things. I thought I was focusing on positive things before, but when you're in like the darkest place, you look for the light.
Yes.
And that's when you really know what positive is and what negative is, in my opinion. And so I started becoming a very good photographer. I realized that, oh my God, this skill that I never knew I had, all of a sudden I had. And what I mean by skill, I'm paraphrasing and I'm jumping all over. Sorry, listeners. Because when I started the apparel brand, and I'll touch on this in just a little bit, when you have a startup, kind of like you have right now, you have to do it all yourself.
Yes.
You got to film, you got to do photos, you got to write copy, you got to learn how to do ads, everything. And for some reason, I don't know if it's just a gift that I have, maybe because I've always loved art, but photography came incredibly easy for me. It was just something that I was really good at. And obviously when you take photos every single day of people in offices, of nature, of musicians, of apparel, you start becoming good at a bunch of different things. And so I realized, I'm like, wow, I'm really, really good at branding. And my record label in Utah started getting recognition. I'm starting to put shows on. People are wearing my apparel. I even bought a food truck for $5,000, gutted it out, and made the inside of a food truck a retail store.
Cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a little bit ghetto, but it did what it needed to do. And other brands started seeing like who's Damson, who's this guy, and so I started being hired out by other people to do that for them, and that was when the light clicked. And I had told my boss, who actually I got to give him a shout out, Mike Hartle, who kind of was with me throughout the good times and bad times, from me being fired to rehired to me quitting, all these things. I think they're important because you can never hold a grudge with anyone. If he fired me originally because I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then he said, hey, I'm really sorry. Cool. I don't even care. Let's get to work. And then I'm like, hey, people are hitting me up. You need to pay me more or I got to move on.
Right.
He was in a place because he had a startup where he couldn't. So I took the entrepreneur step, like, all right, here we go. And then that was what ricocheted everything, because one big company in Utah hired me to just do their apparel.
Their branding.
Yep, their apparel, their photos, and launch certain things. And then the president of the company, he was like, who the heck is this kid? He's like a hustler. I want you to fly with me everywhere, basically be my D-Rock. I'm like, let's go.
Let's go.
So I started traveling with him, and again, that's when I started realizing, I'm like, I'm really good at this. People are noticing this. But I felt like I was on a treadmill where you're just going, but...
Where are you going?
Exactly. And I started feeling a little, I don't want to say depressed, but I was getting in a very negative space again because
Right.
I was just like, okay, I'm doing too much. And when I say I'm doing too much, it was like 20-hour days for almost a year.
That is too much.
And I'm like, I'm not sleeping well. You can see the bags under my eyes, and my projects are slacking, or I'm not putting energy on this. And
Trying to juggle too many things at the same time, probably.
Tell-
You still had your record label at the same time as you were traveling with this other person?
Yeah, and on top of that, because I was like, oh, I'm really good at this, why don't I just start an agency? Let's get another
Right.
client. So
Right,
I think
right.
at one point I had 3 clients, my record label, and I was traveling with the guy. So of course, tanked.
Yeah.
And then the company was going through a shift. They didn't need a contractor anymore. Hey, sorry, we don't need you. I'm like, great. Here I am. I feel like I was just here not too long ago.
Couch surfing again or
I
something?
luckily had a place.
Good.
No, but as far as like, oh, I have no job. What do I do now? My clients, because I was starting like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Boom, let one go. Hey, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Let another one go. And then eventually I had nothing. And this is, I'm moving fast, but now we're into almost 2 years ago. And I remember being in my apartment and thinking like, what's next for me? Like, I don't know what to do. In fact, I should say this, that the record label I was pushing really hard. In the middle of this chaos of me quitting one job and helping contractors, I started going on tour with my friends, X and G. And
did you have other sign-ups in your...
we did, but no one really that like, boom, blew up.
Okay.
Where we would, and when I say on tour, I'm talking like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was like, hey, I'm not going to be here. We're going to be in San Francisco or Detroit or New York or New Mexico or Dallas. You know, it was respect to all the musicians that really make it and hustle, and even the small ones like we were, because it was, here's how much money they're going to get. I'm not saying me, because I was just managing as a friend and a homie, and I would pay out of my pocket to help them get there. You know, because when you believe in someone...
That's what you do.
Yeah, it's like, and you hear it from probably all the greats. You give without expectation.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't care, guys, like, let's go, because I believe in you. Get in my car, let's do this. In fact, I even bought a car specifically so we could all travel. And the best time of my life, and I attribute the majority of my real photography and branding success to those few months.
Yeah.
Because literally I learned how to travel, how to pack light, how to take photos and edit and video on the fly, get it ready, put it on Instagram within hours, you know. D-Rock, respect, you, respect, anyone that does it is like, it's so much work. And yeah, so when I said I can't do the music thing, I can't do the label, I can't do this, I'm like done. I was in my apartment and I decided like, I gotta get out of here, like where am I gonna go? And it's so weird, but I had a lighter, you know, from Seattle that I'd kept. And I'm like, I love Seattle. Every time we've gone there on a trip with music, something about that place.
Yeah.
So I hopped in my car because I didn't have enough money to book a flight. And I looked at my phone, I'm like, oh shit, it's 13 hours away.
13-hour drive.
Let's go. And and I went to Seattle in hopes of chasing something else, finding a job, starting a new agency there, and doing music, like clean slate. I didn't want to know anybody. I didn't want to have any connections. I wanted to basically, as Gary would say, if you're good enough, you will win.
Yeah.
I wanted to prove to myself that I'm good at design. I'm good at photos. I'm good at doing what I say I'm good at.
Yes.
And
self-awareness.
let's like the only way to do it is to do it. And if you suck, or you're not quite, I don't want to say the word suck, but if you're not quite good, figure out how to get better. So
Yes.
YouTube, Google, that's what it is. And so I moved there. Again, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell like a single soul. I actually called my friend up and I was like, hey, only one friend that I knew, I'm coming to Seattle. Do you still live there? Good. Can I crash on your couch? He's like, sure. When are you coming? I'm like, I'm almost there.
I'm on my way.
Yeah. So I landed in Seattle, and I started shopping my resume, a designer resume, and people were like, I even went to Getty Images. I snuck into the building, and people are like, "Are you lost?" I'm like, "Well, I have a resume," and they're like, "Yeah, here." Some random guy's like, "I'll give it to the right person."
Really, a
I'm
physical
like,
resume?
A physical resume.
People
I'm like,
still do that?
that's what they were telling me. They're like, "Get out of here." I'm pretty sure that resume made it to the trash can right after I got kicked out.
Wow.
But I remember just like having this mentality of like, you have to show up. You have to go out of your way.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that in the past. So after a long day of getting rejected, obviously, I don't know why I thought that I could just go to Seattle and get a job in one day and everything would be okay. I ended up going to Chipotle, and the manager just saw me, and I'm like, "Dude, are you hiring?" And he's all, "Actually, we are." He's like, "How about eat food?" Because I obviously looked haggard and tired. And he's all, "Just eat your food. It's on me. Come meet me after." So he gave me a free meal, and I told him what was going on. He hired me on the spot. And I said, "All right." He wanted me to start the next day. And I was like, "Look, I live in Salt Lake. Let me go home, and I'll be here on Monday." He's like, "Oh,
What?
You promise?" So that's what I did. I left the place, I handshake, like, we're doing this. I filled out all the paperwork right then and there.
But this was in Seattle.
This was all in Seattle.
You went back to Salt Lake.
Exactly. This is like, I thought about it. I drove there 48 hours later. Like, this is all going on. And on Craigslist, I found a studio for like $600, a little bit bigger than this room right here. And I literally, no bathroom, no kitchen. I had to like go outside in the hallway to share a bathroom with people. And so to anyone listening, like, do what you have to do.
Do what you have to do.
And humble yourself, because like, to be from a designer getting paid thousands of dollars and travel for free and do all these cool things, to having no job, literally almost begging for a job at Chipotle and starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Like, that will humble you, like
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
And I did it. I went home. I threw away a lot of stuff. I hired some guys to help me just load up a U-Haul. I left my car just parked in this empty parking lot, hoping like, please no one steal this.
Wow.
And then I flew back to Seattle, unloaded all my stuff. I started working. 2 weekends after that, I flew back to Salt Lake because my car's there. I needed to get it back to Seattle, and that's when I told my family what was going on.
Wow.
And everyone's like, "What are you doing? You're going to Seattle? Do you have a job? Who do you know?" And I'm just like, "No one." In 2 weeks of being in Seattle, and sorry, like, if I'm like like I told you, I'm Chatty Cathy. My story is insane.
I'm very curious to see what happens next and how you ended up here.
So, Chipotle was the best. At that time, because I'm 32, almost 33, I'm a 30-year-old, literally like coming into Chipotle, working with 18-year-olds, learning how to cook chicken, and I'm like, I don't even know how to cook. Where's the microwave here, you know? And I would always show up with a smile, and I think that's key, because if you're thankful,
yes,
nothing else matters. And I would see these kids complain, like, "Oh, I hate this job." Fucking
kids complain all the time nowadays. It's
right,
yeah.
and they would be like, "Why are you so happy?" And I'm like,
"What do you mean?"
Like, you live in Seattle, like, it's so cool. We work in downtown. You get free food, and the minimum wage in Seattle is $15 an hour.
Wow.
Like, why are you complaining, dude? You make more than some teachers make in other parts of the country.
In the same country.
In the same country.
You don't
in
have to
Utah.
go that far.
So, after I would just go to work for 4 hours, and as soon as I would leave work, I'd just change, and same thing. I'd just walk around with my resume. Like, "Hey, I'm a designer, I do photos, I do social media, let me help you." Like, and for some reason, again, like, the stars just aligned. If you guys have ever read the book The Alchemist.
I haven't read it, but it's on my list.
It's almost like again, Maktub, it was meant to be, or whatever it is. But the stars aligned, and I went to this souvenir shop called Simply Seattle. And I just handed my resume, and the girl's like, "Oh, come back tomorrow, the owner's here." But I'll give him the resume. And then they ended up calling me. And they hired me on like, they were a little curious. They're like, your resume is really cool, but who drops a resume off? That's
who drops a physical resume?
What they liked about it was more like, it looked like a Facebook profile, and then on the opposite side it was actually photos. So I made my photo, like I put my best photos on there, so it wasn't like I do this, it was like, here's the work that I've done, and I'm right here, and I'm hungry, and let's go. So they hired me to be their head designer, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me in 2 weeks, you know. And it was this guy that just bought this company, and so he was like in a new startup phase, and he needed someone like me, and I just went to work. Like, I gave him the absolute best I ever had, and I learned how to design better than I ever have, because I was designing emails and t-shirts and helping out with the store, because I've done that, and doing photos and social media, and that was, you just do what you have to do. And when I would leave, I would still hustle. I would still try to do the record label. I would still try to do my personal brand, and I actually started finding other clients. So within the month of me being in Seattle, I was already established. I had a place to live, and eventually moved out and got a studio with a bathroom. That was like the way, and a kitchen.
Private bathroom.
But it just shows that, like, if you're positive and you focus on what you want to accomplish, the opportunities are endless.
Yes.
And so after like all of this chaos, then the key thing, the reason why I'm here is, and you can search my Instagram, I'm not bullshitting you, but throughout the whole entire process of everything, ever since I started the internship thing with K-Swiss, I only wore K-Swiss because of their motto of like, entrepreneurs are the new CEOs are the new rock stars. Entrepreneurs wear K-Swiss, and I was like, it was just a reminder, you know. I'm not fancy. I never spent hundreds of dollars on shoes. I could afford K-Swiss, but every time like it was something like, I'm gonna go and do this, I'm gonna wear my K-Swiss, and I would always take photos and I would send them. And when the Gary Vee shoes were coming out, you know, I was the first person to see them outside of the design team out here. So for me, that was a special thing. And then when the original shoes were launching, before the original shoes were launching, and Gary announced it originally, I flew to come and watch and be a part of that, just to meet Gary.
But were you already working?
No.
So you were doing that just voluntarily?
Yeah. It was just like, if you want to work with someone,
of course,
you just give. I never asked. I never said, hey, can I have some free shoes? It was just like, I'll buy them, I'll shoot, I wear, and here you go, and here you go, and here's some more product. And, you know, it was just like, free. And I would stay in contact with the president, which is Barney. And I would say, hey, I'm coming to LA. It was like, if he would say, yeah, come through, I would book my flight.
Of course. So
I was like, hey, I'm coming to LA these dates. Are you free? And then he would respond like, I'm only free for like half an hour this day. Perfect. Book my flight. I'd arrange how to make it happen. And luckily, you know, it all worked out. The trip that changed everything for me, like I was telling you, was after 8 months of being in Seattle. Again, I don't know if it's just because I was hustling so hard, 20-hour days, like waking up at 4:30, going to the gym, going to work, like in the morning, and then going to my 9 to 5, and then after that going for a run, and then working at night, like every single day, like clockwork, just nonstop.
That's more than hustle. I don't know what that is.
Ambition.
Ambition. You got it.
I got to a point where I actually was able to start an agency again. Like, I had my 9 to 5 that was paying me okay, but they couldn't afford to pay me more. Been in that situation before. And then I had 3 side clients. And
this was all still in Seattle?
All in Seattle now. This is within 8 months of going again.
How long ago, by the way?
So this was... I've been here 10 months, so this is about a year ago.
About a year ago.
Yeah, in July it'll be a year. So actually a year ago from this time, I realized you have to plan ahead. You have to decide, hey, where's my future going? Am I happy? Am I going in the direction that I want to go, that I say I'm going to go? And if the answer is no, then change it. Like, again, all these things that we hear from all these super achievers, they're very true. You're in charge of your life. If you don't like it, change it.
Yeah. And the things that you cannot change, like if you, okay, maybe you cannot change your government, the economy, like don't focus on those things. Like focus on what you can control. And I see, I mean, from your story, which is fascinating so far, like I was not expecting that. That's wow. That's what you've done. Like you've taken control. Even when you've been working for someone else, you did not just settle. You kept searching, and that hunger that you have is what has kept you going. So
yeah, I'm hungry all the time, and I'm still hungry. I know, like what got me here was the fact that I wanted to live life on my own terms, not like I was gonna be a millionaire. Now I'm living in Seattle.
You don't have to be
right?
a millionaire to live on your terms. I think it's a misconception.
Very true. Yeah. And I just found like happiness in seeing progress.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy to me, from going from zero to a lead designer at a place to seeing people on the streets wearing things that I've designed.
Mm-hmm.
And like that to this day blew my mind. Or with the record label, there was this one time I went to a show at a state and I didn't know anybody. I'm literally like at this bar, like having a drink, and this guy like bumps into me. And I was like, "Oh, excuse me," and he goes, "Are you Omar?" And I'm like, yeah. He's like, "Dude, I follow you on Instagram." And I'm like, what?
Great feeling. I know.
So those little wins I think are very humbling and cool, because I didn't know what to do. I'm like, dude, I'm a nobody, but someone knows me in a foreign place. But to answer your question and not rant and almost end this, what happened was, again, I'm like, I have all these clients. I'm going to start an agency. And I told my boss, I was like, hey, this is my plan. Can you match this or not? The answer was no. That to me was interesting because for personal reasons, I was kind of thinking like they don't believe in me. I have the hunch, I can tell who's genuine and who really doesn't believe in you. And I figured that. I was like, okay. So I'm like, well, I'm leaving. And they're like, you're leaving? And I'm like, yeah, here's a month notice. And if you would like me to work with you, because it's hard to find someone that can shoot photos, copyright, do email campaigns, run your store,
all the stuff that I do
in one, and pay them shit. It's like it's unless you find someone who's super hungry, it's not going to happen. And I told them that, and they're like, "Oh, we'll find someone." And
they
then
still haven't.
They actually haven't. That's the truth. It's been a year. I keep up with them. Great people though, and they're successful. So like that's amazing, and I'm friends with them, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
But I left, and I was super happy because we were going to kind of work still a little bit, but even if I didn't have them, I had enough clientele coming in that I was fine, and I was having a blast. And while this was going on, it was my 32nd birthday, and I planned a trip. I was like, okay, I'm going to go visit my family in Utah that I haven't seen in a year. I'm going to go to Denver because I have a client there that I need to see, and I'm like, you just got to meet your clients.
Of course.
And then I'm going to go to LA because I've been working on this idea that I wanted to pitch to K-Swiss. And then after that, I'm going to fly home. So that was like the plan.
Right.
I made it as far as Los Angeles. Denver's the only one I missed. And Los Angeles was where everything changed for me. And I think when you hear that opportunity, what does the saying say? When hustle meets opportunity or something like that?
I know what you're talking about, but I'm not
Preparation meets opportunity.
Something like that.
That's really what happened. I came to Los Angeles, and I came a day early, the day after my birthday, and Barney, the president, invited me to go with him to a special event with Gary Vee, where he was investing in a cannabis company. And so Barney and I showed up, and as we're walking in the hallway, Tyler and Gary, Tyler's his film guy.
Yes.
Tyler's
Gary's assistant.
Right, Tyler Schmidt, but Babin. So
Tyler Babin. Okay,
it was Babin, Gary, me, and Barney. And we get in this elevator, and I'm just like starstruck. I'm trying to keep it cool. I've met Gary, I think a couple times at that point. And I didn't want to be like, oh my God, Gary. I was just like, hey, what's up?
Fanboy.
Exactly. But it just, the energy just felt right. And then as Barney and I were talking, he asked me, what do you do? And I'm like, I run social media accounts. I create social media, and I can like build a following. And he was like, I thought you did a record label. I'm like, well, kind of, not anymore. I just focus on this. And he said, oh, we're actually looking for someone to fill that role. And I'm like, oh, interesting.
Interesting.
I'm like, are you looking at the guy? And Barney and I, like, that was the most we've ever really interacted on like a human base.
Right.
And he was like, I don't know, man. Why don't you come in tomorrow and let's have an interview? And so there's 2 photos that I have on my phone that I like looking because it reminds me of what your face and your personality looks like when you're not confident and when you are confident. Unconfident Omar was like, I'm going into this unknown to the LA trip. The next day, the focus of my face and the presence, you could just see it. Yes. Of like, I got this. I stayed up all night drafting a pitch, telling them this is what I would do, this is what you have, this is how I would change it, this is what I would do. And they offered me a job that day.
Amazing.
And here I am. I canceled my Denver trip. I flew back, I flew early to Seattle. I found a loophole in my contract for my studio. What are the odds?
You were able to leave the studio?
I was able to just like get out. I think I paid $300.
Good.
And gave away some stuff, packed a U-Haul. Again. The only thing that's amazing, and it's one of my favorite things, when I flew to LA to meet with Barney before the job offer, I shared an Uber with a girl, her name is Faye, and we became friends, like Chatty Cathy meets Chatty Cathy. And so we became friends, and then before I left back to Seattle, we grabbed a beer, and I was like, hey, I'm moving here, so we're going to have to hang out. And she said, oh, that's cool. When I moved to LA, she messaged me and was like, hey, I have a room for rent if you need one. And I'm like, I was weird at first. I'm like, you're a stranger, and I don't want a roommate. But I said, yeah, because I needed a place. And we're homies. And so it wasn't hard for me to go from Seattle to LA because I'd done a move before. I found a spot, and that was like, she helped me get like grounded, and then I was able to move out, and now I live in the studio. But that's my story. I'm like, I feel like I just drank coffee and I didn't. That's how I got here.
That was a great story. Long story. Great story.
Yes, very long.
I'm sure people enjoyed it, like our listeners, and got a lot of valuable lessons from what you've done. Like really, I really do think it's courageous, even if you don't think you are. It does take courage to be humble. It takes courage to drop everything and start over. It really does. So, back to the K-Swiss brand, right? So you've been working here for like 10 months now. Yeah. So first of all, I'm really curious about how the Gary V collaborations came to be. The first one, and what's coming.
So Barney reached out to Gary, straight up like DM style. Hey, this is Barney, president of K-Swiss. Would love to do the first entrepreneur sneaker with you.
Very cool.
That's it. Gary responds with an emoji of a smiley face.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get on a phone call. Gary, I think, had 200,000 followers at the time. So
where? On YouTube?
Instagram.
On Instagram. Yeah.
He's got 5.5 million.
I know, he's grown on Instagram, like, it's amazing. Like, I've been following him for a while, and first on Twitter, then on Instagram, but the last couple years it's been, and YouTube as well. His YouTube and his Instagram have blown up, So what do you attribute that, like, I mean, what do you think has made the difference for Gary, like, to grow like that?
Genuineness, from my opinion, is humility and the ability to help people out. What I love about Gary is I think everyone sees a part of themselves in Gary. That's the truth. Like, why was I so hungry? Why did I not stop? Because I would see Gary and I would be like, I can be like that.
Yeah.
I can just keep going. I can pursue my dream and be happy about it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes Gary Gary. He's got the team that is able to, and the energy.
Of
like
course.
the guy's unreal. Like
Yeah, the energy and the team. Like I was doing an interview earlier. Someone else was interviewing me for their podcast, and we talked about that too. Like, how does he not ever get drained? You know, with all that he gives. So it's pretty amazing.
I think honestly, I got a taste of it. Like I got that little bit of Gary juice, and that's because when you're so focused on really making what you want happen, you're not tired.
Yeah.
And in fact, I remember a quote from Mark Cuban in one of the YouTube videos that I saw or read, whatever. He said that there was nights where he was working on his first startup coding, and he's like, I didn't want to go to sleep. It'd be like 24, 26, 32 hours. He's like, I just couldn't stop.
Right.
And I think Gary has that. And I felt when I was like, especially in Seattle, like when you're on it, you're on it.
True. He does talk about sleep a lot though. So I think sleep is underrated by some people.
Yes, I love sleeping now.
Me too. Some people think, no, you're not hustling if you're sleeping. No,
but I think even with that sleep thing, everybody has different, your body, everybody's, you know, some
Different
people
needs.
can do 4, some people need 8 to 10.
Yeah.
I found through Apple Watch, if you guys want to see another one, the sleeping app, that 6.5 to 7 hours for me, I can truly like be a functional human and not feel drained.
Yeah, awesome. So what other collaborations are happening right now between K-Swiss and I don't know,
people, entrepreneurs? When is this going to come out?
This podcast?
Yes.
I'm not sure, but probably a couple weeks from now.
Okay, so in a couple weeks it'll be May.
Probably early May.
So the collaboration, I'll just tell you because it'll be out by then, is Clueless. You ever watch that movie?
I love that movie.
So we're doing a Clueless collaboration.
Wow.
And we're shooting at the high school on Monday. Super pumped about that.
Wow.
And that's going to come out, which we're really excited about. This month we have another entrepreneur shoe coming out with a female entrepreneur. Her name's Natasha Case.
Awesome.
She owns an ice cream shop called Cool House, which is an amazing story. You should go to K-Swiss CEOs Wear Sneakers and listen to that story because you'll be like,
What's the URL? Or is it
just anywhere where you listen to podcast. Just search K-Swiss.
Oh, that's the name of the podcast.
Yeah, CEOs Wear Sneakers. Yeah,
okay.
We have a lot of amazing interviews on that. But we're having a collaboration with her that comes out on the 22nd of this month.
Awesome.
Celebrating 10 years in business, you know, from a startup in a food truck, ice cream food truck, to 10 years, and she's been featured all over.
Amazing.
And then we have the collaboration with Clueless, and then in June we have a Ghostbusters
Very
collab.
cool.
And then it goes on and on. We have another one with Little Jupiter, if you've ever heard of him.
No, I haven't.
So Little Jupiter is a tastemaker. He's an online celebrity, you would say, like on Instagram. He got famous by posting, 13, 14 times a day in a row with no captions, and people started just like, whoa, what is this? Like everything was awesome. It could be as simple as like a Buzz Lightyear toy post, whatever, to like a Kanye post. I don't know. It's just like, but people liked it, and in fact, our first shoe collaboration with him, the shoes sold out in 3 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, like we went live, we all refreshed our laptops, and we're like, is this right? Like they're sold out. And so it just shows, and he's, I think, maybe 22.
Wow.
It just shows that, like, you never know who's watching. You don't know what you can do and what impact you can have.
That's outstanding. Wow. I'm going to look him up.
Yeah, Little Jupiter, 2 R's.
Little Jupiter. Awesome. So, well, it looks like collaborations are a big part of what the company does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what has motivated them to search for this very specific collaborations, and what does the company search for in somebody? Like, all right, I want to collab with this person.
Right, that's an excellent question. Collaborations are amazing. Like every company does a collaboration. It's good to have your view aligned with someone else's view, and what we look for is exactly that. Gary is pushing positivity and entrepreneurship. That's what K-Swiss stands for. K-Swiss, if you look on our Instagram, it says outfitting and inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs. That works. Those messages align, and that's what we look for. And so we know that, especially now with YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, kids nowadays want to be the boss. They want to have their own brand. They know they can have their own brand.
Yes.
They know that through the right steps, maybe knowing the right people or whatever it is, that they can make it happen. And that's what we look for. Like, who is this next super ambitious hustler? We've supported a little bit and worked with Casey Adams. I don't know if you've ever heard his name tossed around.
I've heard of him, yes.
And so someone like him, who knows what will happen in the future, but it's like we're looking for people that are just ambitious, hungry, and are doing good.
Amazing. I'm going to add it to my dream board. Maybe one day I'll make this happen.
You never know. You never know.
You never know. So you're very good with social media. That's clear now from the story you've told us and the work that you do here at K-Swiss. So, according to you, what makes a social media not just a campaign but a presence? What makes it successful? What is it that allows a brand or a personal brand build a loyal following on social media?
Everything that Gary and all the heads talk about is quality, knowing what you want to say. Like, what do you stand for? What are your core values? How do you say that? And does it look good? So I think that's what makes a great social media brand or a good social media brand become great. If you have a brand mission and you stay within your lane and you post more than once, and not only that, but you engage with people. And one thing that I love, and I think I attribute a lot of the brand success that I've had here with K-Swiss, is how often do we get on our phones? Like, all the time, every single day.
Yeah.
And normally what I notice when I'm on my phone, it's like I'm always looking at my thing. Like, how many likes did I get? Did anyone comment? And I had to change my mindset and be like, I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing it for someone else. And when you focus on the community of another entity or a brand, and you still have the same mindset of like, what did people do? That's when things grow, because you can see real humans engaging, and then you engage with those humans. And I think that's what makes the difference with K-Swiss, is because I do love the brand and I want to see it grow in the best that I can. And so if people are commenting, I'm commenting right back, and people aren't used to that. That's what makes it different.
That's what makes it different, yeah. So you're also actually managing the account yourself.
Yeah, so with K-Swiss, same thing.
So when K-Swiss replies, it's
me. Ooh. So with my job, just so you know, it's kind of crazy. I'm the community manager, which I wear a lot of hats here, but sometimes I'll be on photo shoots and photos, but for the most part, like, we have our guys, and then I'll select the photos, I'll make sure that they're sized right, I'll write the copy, I'll schedule it, I'll make sure that, that's not getting enough likes, let's boost it to the right people, let's create Facebook audiences, let's run these ads on this, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. I started a Pinterest board, then we have YouTube, and then LinkedIn. So it's like...
And the podcast.
And the podcast, exactly. So I'm the voice of K-Swiss per se.
Multi-talented and multi-responsibilities.
Yes, no pressure.
No pressure at all. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. I don't know if there's any final words of encouragement and inspiration that you have for our listeners, for the hustlers here in the audience.
Yes, and I'm glad you asked me that. Thank you. The only advice that I have will just tie back to the advice that I would tell myself, which is start something, do something. And what I mean by that, if I wouldn't have started my record label, I wouldn't be here. Because when you start something for the right reasons, you learn so much about yourself. You open up other doors, other opportunities, and maybe you learn something that you're good at that you didn't know you were good at. So that's what I would encourage people to do, to start something, and also feed your mind with positive things nonstop. Find a good day routine, night routine, work out, eat right, like all those things, they really do add up, and they don't need to be long. It could be the first hour of your day, and you crushed it. So that's my advice.
I love it. So thank you so much, Omar. Where can people follow K-Swiss and follow you?
Follow K-Swiss at K-Swiss.
At K-Swiss.
Everywhere. Subscribe, like, comment, shout us out. In fact, if you share this video and leave a comment with your favorite thing you took from it, I'll let you pick someone that we can send shoes to.
Ooh, so we can do a giveaway?
Yeah, of course. Okay. So subscribe, leave a comment, you pick, let me know, and we'll send you out some shoes.
Love it.
And then me, Omar Prestwich. Anywhere Omar Prestwich.
I love it. Thank you so much, Omar. And thanks to everybody for watching and for listening. And now go out there, make something happen.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
Cheers.